So you need to have quotas. So much of trawling will be allowed, so much of fish catch, however, because the stock should not be depleted. It's like putting a capital in a bank and eat the interest, but not the capital. If you eat up the capital, then 10 years down the line, there'll be nothing left in the bank. So you need to have the breeding populations intact in the oceans so that the fisheries remains economically viable. So this is one different arena which is crucial for the survival of the biodiversity and its livelihoods which depend on it. If you look at certain endangered species, like this is not an endangered species, it's a very common sea turtle called the olive wriggly turtle, green turtle. This is about 300,000 or 3 lakh turtles come to nest on the coast of Orissa in 2 to 3 days. Okay? During the new moon day, they all come onto the coast and they lay their eggs. Now this region of the beach, there are several companies which wanted to explore oil prospects in the ocean over here. Now this is the only beach where such large mass nesting of turtles occur. So we were asked to do a study. These are different blocks, oil exploration blocks all along our coast. Okay? And this is what I'm talking about, off the coast of Orissa over here. So what we did was we put satellite transmitters on these turtles to study their movement pattern. Okay, and to see what is happening. And we found that our turtles use this part of the ocean, then they go all the way to Sri Lanka and they come back. Okay? This is only possible with modern technological tools like satellite telemetry. But we found a window where all the turtles are actually not found in this area. They all move out. Okay? So we gave the oil industry a window when they can operate. So we're not stopping development, but allowing conservation and development to go hand in hand. This is only possible if we knew that window, time window. So you can do this during 3 months of the year. The rest of the 9 months, it is out. Nobody is allowed. So the government of India is taking a conscious view of allowing oil exploration only for the 3 to 4 months when the turtles leave the Orissa coast and go down to the Bay of Bengal and the Indian Ocean. We also study high altitude ecology like snow leopard, ibex. Again you can see this ibex which is tagged with a radio transmitter. And you need to work in such hostile environments. It's great if you enjoy that kind of life. If you don't enjoy that kind of life, please don't go there. But if you like this kind of life, if those of you who love the outdoors, then this is wonderful because you can spend a lot of time in the high altitude Himalayas. This is another species of deer which is only found in India. It is called the dancing deer or the brow antlered deer. It lives in a specialized habitat in Tripura. Okay, it's only one place in Manipur where this which you see here, these small islands, they're called fundis. Okay? That's a mass of vegetation which is floating on a lake. Okay, so huge chunk, maybe about 4 to 5 feet of just plant matter which forms these patches. So these deer actually jump from one patch to the other feeding. That's why they're called dancing deer. They manage their weight on this. They've got splayed hoofs. And this is the only population in the world present in this lake. So to study their ecology, where else can we put them so that the population does not decline is another research which is happening right now. Our alpine habitats, there's no Alps in India. The meadows over the timberland are called alpine meadows. So the Himalayan meadows, where there are no trees, they're heavily grazed by our livestock. These livestock actually migrate from the valleys, they go up the mountain slopes and they feed on these pastures. But that reduces all the plant life because they eat up most of everything, especially sheep. So we need to study and set away reserves because there are no wildlife protection areas there. So we need to set aside reserves like the Valley of Flowers which you have near Hemkund when you go to Badrinath. That's one such site which is protected by the government so that livestock grazing doesn't happen there and the plant biodiversity is maintained. We study endemism, that means animals and plants which are only native to that small patches of land where they are found, and then try to conserve them. Plant ecologists, looking at interactions between different edaphic factors, climatic factors, how climate change affects the range of plant species. Are they moving in altitude? Some plant species will come down the slopes of the Himalayas. This is a different aspect of research which can be done. Bird studies, ornithology. Okay, this study which is here, it is looking at the eastern Himalayas and the western Himalayas. They share species, but the genetic constitutions are different. So we want to find out where, when India joined with Asia, animals started coming in the Indo-Malayan realm as well as from the Ethiopian realm, from African side as well as from Malaysia side. So there were 2 entry points of most of the plants and animals into the country. So that's an interesting study on biogeography of how animals colonize this, and this is possible to do that by looking at their genetics and the different morphological characteristics and so forth. This is one of the areas where we concentrate our research. This is the Tarai landscape. It's called the Tarai Arc. It extends all the way along the foothills of the Himalayas, okay, from all the way from beyond Calcutta, Darjeeling side to Yamuna, or right up to Pakistan border. So this entire belt of forests consists of three types of different habitats. One is the Shivalik hills, which are dry deciduous forests over there. Then you have the Bhabur tract, where most of the water goes underground. So all the rivers which originate from the Himalayas, they go deep down inside. Why? Because the glaciated boulders from the Himalayas forms a huge amount of porous soil under this. So there's all bouldery areas and the water goes underneath, and then it comes up again in the plains called the Tarai. So they surface here and form grasslands. And these areas have their flagship species, the elephant and the tiger. So when you have flagships, it's very interesting because the flagships attract a lot of political attention. If you start talking about lizards and spiders and bacteria and so forth, nobody is interested. But you start talking about tigers and elephants, then everybody is interested, and they start giving you money to do research and conservation and so forth. So these animals which are used as icons for conservation are called flagship species. So these are important flagship species of the Tarai, and they are used for doing conservation in this landscape. Another aspect which you can work on is wildlife health. Now you know the Salk virus, okay? You heard of avian influenza. Most of the diseases which reach epidemiological proportions originate from wildlife. Okay? They originate from wild animals. So the concept of One Health is an important aspect where you study the health of human beings, domestic livestock, as well as wildlife as one unit, because all of them are interrelated. So if you don't know this aspect, then human diseases are going to surface and going to create havoc in our populations as well. Most of the cures of these viruses and epidemics lie with wildlife. So to understand the concept of One Health, one has to understand wildlife health as well. And there are many aspects of wildlife health which one deals with, most importantly the one I told you. The other aspect which we deal with is dealing with problem animals. For example, this tusker, which you see, this elephant bull, that got into the city of Haridwar, because it's forest all around Haridwar city. So you need to tranquilize it with the right amount so the elephant doesn't fall down. Still he is amiable and pliable to be pushed into a truck and taken away. Now this is capturing certain animals. This leopard is caught in a trap, of a poacher's trap, and it's alive, so you need to rescue it. So this is a different ball game of different tasks and jobs that a wildlife manager or conservation practitioner needs to do. DNA. Okay, I think this will be of interest to you. Today, looking at molecular ecology is one way of looking at studying wildlife. Now, you can extract DNA is an extremely fragile molecule, okay, and lives. It's got a lifespan of about 10 to 15,000 years. So anything which is about 10 to 15,000 years, you can extract DNA and study it. Probably these creatures, I don't think it's possible. So Jurassic Park is good for Steve Spielberg movies. It's only I don't think one can do that. But you can definitely extract DNA from some fossil remains, museum specimens, and so on, and study it with the advent of PCR, polymerase chain reaction. You can do wonders with it. So what we do with this kind of information is study wildlife populations and problems which we have. Now, three species which I have shown you here. This animal here is the root of a multi-billion dollar industry, the poultry industry. The ancestry of all the poultry farms is this guy over here. It's found in India. Okay? So this creature has a gene pool which is priceless, and it is threatened with hybridization with domestic poultry. This is called the red jungle fowl. It's the ancestor of all poultry birds in the world. This fellow over here which you see is the ancestor of all dogs in the world. Okay, it's the wolf. And this creature here, half of the world's poultry products, not poultry products, dairy products come from the water buffalo. And all these three animals, their wild gene pools are found in our country. But they are threatened with hybridization with domestic livestock. Okay? So the wild gene pools are extremely important because they have a repository for the best of the genes available, which you can use by hybridization and crossbreeding to develop varieties which are disease resistant, more milk yielding, more egg laying, more meat production, better breeds of dogs, and so forth. Now, this Indian wolf was believed to be just an ordinary wolf like any other wolf in the world. And the first time we did research on this wolf was around 2004, and we found that the lineage of our wolves is much more older than the dogs and the wolves of the world. It's about 400,000 years older than all the breeds of wolves across the world. The wolf which is found here. You get wolves outside Rajkot, okay? There are lots of them in Jamnagar. Now this wolf is the ancestor of all the wolves and dogs in the world. It's about 400,000 years older. Interestingly, we found another lineage in the Himalayas which was unknown to science, which is 1,000,000 years older. Okay? So this discoveries actually allow you to understand what kind of biodiversity we have. This is only possible by looking at DNA. And this is mitochondrial DNA in this case. Another aspect of biotechnology application which we do is we try to identify individual animals without actually catching them. And this is used for counting tigers. Okay? And how we do this, if you were to catch a tiger and take a blood sample, you might as well count it. But you don't want to do that. You don't want to catch an animal. Very difficult to catch it. So we use fecal material. Okay? Now, large carnivore feces are called scats. Okay? So we've nicknamed this as scatology. So you've got to go through tons and tons of shit, basically, okay, to do this study. And this fecal matter is used in a polymerase chain reaction with specific primers, so you can amplify only tiger DNA. And of course, the tiger has eaten deer, so there's deer DNA in it, might have eaten something else, so there's a lot of other DNA present in the fecal matter. But the intestinal cells which are slouched off from the tiger's intestine serve as a rich source of DNA. Okay, so this is used in a polymerase chain reaction, and then you can actually identify individuals based on this. So this is fantastic. You can finger type animals and come up with this. Extremely costly, but we do that. What we are looking at is different populations of tigers. So if you catch a skin from a poacher in Nepal or in China, you can actually take the DNA from that skin and find out from which population that tiger has come. Because each population has a genetic signature. Okay? So there are certain alleles or genes which are present in some populations and their frequencies differ from other populations. So this allows you to finger type them to a particular population. We use DNA based technology for forensics, wildlife forensics.